Hey guys, this is Anan with some Type 62 Dragon gameplay for you today. I have gotten to calling this tank the Sex Dragon when it's in this camouflage because it is just a sexy beast to drive, and I think it's fitting, so don't judge me for the weird title, it's just kind of what came out. So here we are, and this is still one of my absolute favorite tanks to drive. Gratuitous ramp there. No reason to do that whatsoever, especially since you're damaging your tracks, but apparently I was feeling frisky at the beginning of this game. And yeah, so like I was saying, this is still one of my favorite tanks to drive ever since it came out. It's just a fantastic tank. It's extremely hard to ace, I think, anymore because lots of good players really enjoy it, and so I've just been accumulating some good gameplay of it and decided to do another video. So I'm popping up here, and this is kind of my typical spot to start, especially in something light and fast on this map, just to kind of see where everybody is at. When I see stuff start to show up at bridge, and then the counters start to go, I know I want to go ahead and move forward because I have teammates on the right side. If they weren't on the right side, I would have waited to see if anything was going to pop out because that's a really troll spot. So instead I'm pushing forward to this T-20 who's clearly paying attention to other tanks, but when he turns his turret towards me, that's when I start to drop back because there's just no reason to lose hit points this early in the game. That's kind of how you play lights in general. You need to choose when to be aggressive, when not to be aggressive, and certainly don't just waste hit points when it's not something you really need to do. Trading is not what you want to do in a light. So I feel like this game is going to look like I just got into some good luck because I am shooting a lot of tanks from the side and not going one-on-one in necessarily negative ways. There are a lot of one-on-one brawls in this game, but that again is just how you play lights. You want to single out opponents and use your speed as an advantage. So Panther 2 was quick to kill. I know I'm talking in generalities a lot here too, but I remember exactly where the Tiger 2 was and used that to kind of propel me forward, especially when I start taking shots. Now I decided to go ahead and brawl with this Tiger 2 even though this isn't very good terrain to do it, and that's totally because of the stock turret. I know his traverse is going to be really, really poor, and so I can abuse that a little bit. You can still cross in front of his gun as long as you do it in very quick movements. It'll make you really difficult to shoot, and so that's kind of what I do throughout this engagement. I'm trying to stay ahead of the turret when I can, but you don't want to get yourself stuck against terrain, so you can kind of bob back and forth and use that poor traverse to your advantage. So moving straight along to the SP that my platoon mate has been fighting. Unfortunately, I get a bad shot into his tracks with HE, but it's still worth it. You know, you're always better off shooting HE at those, so I can finish him off, just takes one more shot, and now I'm just taking a quick glance to see what's left because I've been very focused around the town area. I can see that there's 3 tanks left, all pretty much full health, all higher tier, and so I need to be a little bit careful. I do rush this IS-3 really hard, but I'm hoping I can catch him in space and get another circle going. Unfortunately, he has rolled down off the bridge, so he's too close to the point where I don't want to dive in unless I have to. And I can't tell here if he goes AFK for a minute or whether he's just really focused on some tanks in town, but I have no problem taking advantage of that. It's a big gun that you want to get rid of as quickly as possible, so have no shame in that whatsoever, especially because we're still we are up tanks, but the way we're distributed and health-wise, I mean, you certainly can't take a T-29 and an AT-15 for granted. So just going to keep rolling on. Again, I was peeking at the AT-15 also to see who he's engaged with, and I can tell pretty quick he's engaged in town, which means the T-29 is pretty much flying solo. And to fit the theme of this battle, I'm going to go ahead and charge him. I was getting a little greedy with HE in the back, but the pen's just not enough. So I can go ahead and push in and deal with that. I can't really tell which way the AT-15 is facing, and that's why I roll up just a little bit here. I put myself between him in case he gets a little antsy from a teammate's SOSs and turns around. Just don't need to waste the hit points ever in this game because you just don't know what's going to happen later on. So again, can push right on. So I like this game because, like I said, it looks a little bit simple because of the brawls, but I'm really singling out tanks one at a time and choosing my engagements very carefully, even though it feels like it was done at a breakneck speed. You just have to take advantage of the situations in a light when you get them. So great game there. That's a ton of damage in the 62, or for any tier 7 for that matter. But it's one of those tanks that kind of sneaks up on you. You can rack it up pretty quick. Okay, so we're going to roll straight into another battle on Canal with Matt Karp of Storm, also in a Dragon. So we're obviously going to push this southern corner pretty hard and just kind of see where it goes from there. We're top tier on this battle, which is always nice, but when you have lights as top tiers, you still have to be pretty careful with it, even if this tank is pretty fantastic. So going to pop up here and just try and get spots as they roll over the corner. You always have to remind yourself to be patient in these tanks that are extremely fast, because you get up here and your internal clock starts going. You're like, alright, well, if they were coming this direction, they would be here by now. But remember, you got there at about twice the speed of just about any other tank. So you always have to give it a little bit more time to see what gets spotted. Just popping up here and there. I see the Chi-Ri, so it's starting to make me think maybe they went that direction. But then the Tiger P pops up, which means that there are some tanks on this other side. So I get the shot in and roll back when I see the Cromwell, because I don't want to be spotted and all of a sudden hit by 5 tanks that I can't necessarily see over there. So it was better to roll back into a little bit more cover, and that's exactly why, because the SP pops up, and he would have had a chance to possibly get 2 shells into me if I'd stayed up on that little ridge. Take a shot from that Tiger P because he's moved into a good position, so this is going to have me roll back because we can see tanks starting to push this side of us, which are heavier than us and certainly have a little bit of numbers advantage, so I can work onto this other ridge line. This isn't really a hold down tank, but you can use it like that with the small windows just because you can roll forward and back so fast. It makes your turret really difficult to hit, especially with the size. So a lot of what I'm doing here is keeping an eye on the turret of the T-29. I don't want to take unnecessary shots. If you got a lucky HE shell into me, that could be painful. So I'm just watching for when his turret turns and when I can pop out. When the Cromwell rolls down, I decide to go ahead and do it, so I can also get a spot on the 29 because I knew my camo would reset as well. And so that's why I'm just rolling forward and back. Also, I'm doing a lot of ammo switching right here because the front of a T-29 really kind of needs that heat. You can do it with some lucky shots on AP and certainly from the side like I just showed, but you don't want to risk the shots in there. Alright, so my platoon mate has died, and the T-29 kind of forgot about me for a second, got him isolated, so that's why I go ahead and run on him. His traverse is going to be much, much slower than I am. So I can run in here, but I'm also keeping in mind there were tanks behind, so I don't want to take too long doing it. I like that he shoots here. I want to think it was just a shot out of frustration, but I don't really know why. Could have been lag, obviously, too. So the Tiger P is obviously exposed. We've also come back in this game to create a 3-on-3 situation. We've been down a little bit. And so I'm just working angles in here, and this little kind of engagement with the Tiger P gets me very frustrated because you can see where some of the small tanks, when you're moving around so much, you can run into some problems with RNG, which is I just start missing a bunch of shots here. But you can also see it's a good way to keep yourself safe. I don't like being this exposed, but until I have shells start to bounce off of me or near me, I'm not too worried about it, and that's the case when I would roll back a little bit. So I'm just trying to sneak these shots into his commander's hatch, but I just keep missing and missing and missing. Now I'm starting to have some shells fly, so I switch to heat, hoping I can get one through his front, and that still doesn't go, so just kind of firing everything in at him I can. And now that I get another bounce from him and then take a shot from a tank I can't see, decided enough is enough, even though he's down to pretty close to a one-shot. It's just not worth it anymore, especially with 2 tanks that you can't see. I need to be a little bit more careful with it at this point because I have no clue how much health the 2 tanks besides the Tiger P have. So I'm pushing in, gonna go help the AT-7, and just moving really quick. When I see the Chi-Ri, I dive in because I don't want to hit with that 3-shell autoloader. That would take most of the life I have left. I kind of start to get spots on what is still over there, so instead I decide to flip back around. I'm just hoping my speed will cause him to miss at least 1 shot, and I do get him to miss 1, so it's a little better than just diving in to begin with. So I can still get rid of him, especially now because he's got that longer reload. And again, still just continuing on. I figured one of those tanks, I couldn't remember which one was left, it was the Kuro, but I knew he was heading this way, so now I'm going to be a little bit more careful with it because You just never know with these teams, so I'm going to wait for them to help engage a little bit too, and just use, like I said, some of the speed and maneuverability to frustrate the Kiro a bit while my teammate starts to move in. He's starting to take a couple little dinky shots. I think my teammate might be shooting HE at him, but it doesn't really matter. Again, like I said, I'm just trying to be a little bit more careful about it. When he starts to roll up the hill, I know I have the clear advantage and go ahead and spin around to get the lucky engine fire shot. So, another good example, I mean, just relocation, pick your battles, isolate tanks as much as you can. Always good examples and things you can learn from Lights. And just a lot of fun with the Dragon. So hopefully a lot of people were able to pick that up when it was out. I don't know when we're going to see it again, but I'm always going to be a big fan of it.